Chantel and Pedro Jimeno have come a long way in learning to communicate and compromise with each other. The couple, whom viewers first met on season 4 of TLC's 90 Day Fiancé and then again on 90 Day Happily Ever After, has matured in many ways. Their story is continuing to unfold on television as the 4th season of their spin-off, The Family Chantel, premiered on June 6. However, through all of Chantel and Pedro's ups and downs, and despite their growth, one thing has remained consistent: their families are the source of major relationship drama. Most of the couple's fights are either about or involving family members. In fact, there have been several instances in which Chantel and Pedro's families almost broke them up. During the couple's stint on Happily Ever After, Chantel's family invited Pedro and his sister, Nicole, to their home for dinner. What ensued has become one of the most famous fights in 90 Day franchise history. Tensions had been building before the dinner, as Chantel confided to her family that Nicole had been disrespecting her while staying at the couple's apartment. At dinner, Chantel's mother, Karen, pushes the subject and is clearly trying to create drama. Chantel's brother, River, begins to argue with Pedro. Things escalate, and they begin to swing at each other from across the table. Soon both families are brawling. The entire scene and subsequent hurt feelings could have been avoided if Chantel's mother hadn't insisted bringing up information that Chantel told them in confidence. When Pedro went back to the Dominican Republic for a solo vacation during a rough patch in his marriage, Nicole insisted they go out for a fun evening with friends. She even told him that, at least for the night, he was single. While out on the town, Nicole, who is often considered one of the biggest villains on The Family Chantel, insisted Pedro dance with her friend, Karema, and proceeded to film them dancing. She later tells Chantel that Pedro had sex with Karema and shows her the video of them dancing. Luckily for Pedro, who denied cheating, Chantel was skeptical of Nicole's claims. But a cheating allegation is no joke, and, as Nicole was surely aware, it's a serious enough offense to break up a marriage. It seems obvious that hiring a private investigator behind someone's back and then telling them about it, with the sole intention of getting a rise out of them, is offensive. However, Chantel's parents didn't see it that way when they hired a private investigator to look into Pedro. For the record, Chantel's family has hired the private investigator to investigate many people throughout the course of their time on the series. The family's inability to treat Pedro in a way where he'd actually want to communicate with them, and their insistence on violating his trust by, basically, having him stalked, says a lot about how little trust they have in their daughter and her partner. After Chantel's family finds out about the K-1 visa, and the fact that the couple must marry in a matter of days, her parents insist she as Pedro sign a prenuptial agreement. This saddens Pedro, as he feels Chantel's family doesn't trust him or his intentions. Related, 90 Day Fiancé cast members who really clashed with their in-laws to make matters worse. Pedro tells his family about the prenup and his mother becomes very angry. Chantel wasn't particularly invested in the prenup situation, and Pedro was offended but eventually agreed to sign it. However, Chantel's mother's insistence on the matter and Pedro's mother's reaction made matters exponentially worse for the young couple, and divided them further. Chantel's family was invited to Pedro's mother's home for a family meal. Under the pretense of reconciliation, Lydia, who is often considered one of the most frustrating 90 Day franchise cast members, served chicken feet for dinner, a dish common around the world but very uncommon to many Americans. Chantel's family refused to eat it, even accusing Lydia of trying to curse them with voodoo. To make matters worse, it was clear Pedro's family wasn't interested in eating the chicken feet either, and likely cooked the dish to antagonize their guests. The families made the meal miserable for Chantel and Pedro, who just wanted to unite everyone, but were instead forced to defend opposite sides of the argument. Chantel and Pedro lived in a small one-bedroom apartment after they were first married. Their relationship was tested when Pedro's sister and one of the 90 Day franchise's worst siblings, Nicole, came to visit. The couple purchased an expensive new couch for her to sleep on. Nicole wasn't happy with the sleeping arrangement and insists on a hotel instead. The request causes drama between Chantel and Pedro because Pedro acquiesced to his sister's demands and placed blame on his wife. In so many situations, Pedro is forced to choose between his family's demands and his marriage, albeit he often chooses wrong. But that kind of manipulation does nothing but drive a wedge between relationships. After Pedro moved in with Chantel, his family expected him to send them money for their home, as well as electronics such as laptops, appliances, and more. Meanwhile, Pedro couldn't legally work in the United States yet, and Chantel was, at that time, a college student. Related, 90 Day Fiancé cast members who are highly influenced by their parents. The expectations set forth by Pedro's family was unrealistic, given the couple's limited means. However, Lydia and Nicole kept pushing for more. It is noble of Pedro to want to help his family, but in that instance his family should have been more understanding about the fact that Pedro was not able to support his marriage, let alone his mother and sister as well. Immediately after Chantel tells her family about the K-1 visa, her parents make it clear they may not attend her wedding, causing undue emotional stress for the already flustered couple. Chantel is heartbroken and cannot focus on the rushed wedding, and Pedro grows to resent her family. It's unfortunate because couples with a strong familial support systems tend to have the best weddings on 90 Day Fiancé. If Chantel's parents had even attempted to accept their adult daughter's decision, instead of acting like her wedding was somehow personally disrespecting them, the entire trajectory of events between families would have changed. Pedro's mother and sister have been vocal about wanting to move to the United States, and Pedro has been equally as vocal about wanting to help make that happen. There is nothing wrong with the family wanting to move for more opportunities, nor is there anything wrong with Pedro wanting to assist them. However, on the family Chantel, the couple goes house hunting, but Pedro keeps insisting they have to buy something large enough for his family to stay with them when they arrive. That household dynamic would never work for Chantel or his family, and yet, he's forced to push for it. Then there was the infamous argument between Chantel and Nicole, which took place in both Spanish and English, was rife with misunderstandings, and ended in Chantel slandering her sister-in-law with a string of insulting names. Chantel argued that it was unfair she and Pedro were forced to give Nicole and Lydia more money every month than they were realistically capable of giving. Instead of listening to Chantel or being in any way compassionate, Nicole just kept gaslighting Chantel, insisting that she didn't understand their culture, and suggesting Chantel wanted to see her mother-in-law homeless. In this instance, it was clear that Pedro's family was unwilling to compromise. Next, 90 Day Fiancé cast members who didn't research their partner's culture.